Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Roy Potter. Today is the 31st of October, 2019, and it's kind of back to the old setup here. I'll have to do this once in a while when I'm in a rush. As usual, let me ask if anybody is there, if you think that the sound is okay. That's primarily what I worry about these days. It seems like that seems to be the most difficult thing to manage on YouTube for some reason now. So maybe you can let me know if it's okay, all right? All right, good. Sounds good. Okay, I'm just going to go with it. If they cut me off or if something happens, I apologize. I'm using my old system here and it can be a problem, okay? So, yeah, they took the vote in the House this morning, and of course, that I don't think it surprised anybody. It sure didn't surprise me. Uh, I was a little aghast. I don't know if you all follow on Twitter, and it looks like we're having some transmission problems as usual. I don't know if you follow Ann Coulter on Twitter, but somebody said Tulsi Gabbard voted for the impeachment when she said it was bad for the country. And then Ann Coulter came out and said, not possible, not so, she's in the Senate. What? What? Sometimes I don't know about Ann Coulter. That's just as bad as saying when the Fukushima thing happened that radiation isn't bad for you, that it's good for you. I don't know where Ann Coulter was. I'm not gonna belabor the point. Everybody can make a mistake, but man, But my point of this video is that as I have feared all along, Trump's inaction and showing that he's weak over all of this time was going to have a real detriment at some point in the presidency, and it looks like it is in fact here. Now, I've been listening to Lionel. I've been listening to both sides. People say, "Oh, the impeachment isn't going to happen. They're not going to convict him in the Senate." And then, all kinds of machinations back and forth about the end result of all this. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter. This shows where everybody is breaking down, where the lines are. And as I'm saying this morning, and as I predicted all along, if Trump didn't act, more and more people would jump on the bandwagon to go against him, which in effect is going against the perfect law of liberty, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. I don't care how often Nancy Pelosi or any of those people recite verses out of the Constitution or anything else. They are anything but involved in saving this country along its constitutional republic foundations, principles. They're not about that, and they've proven it time and time again. And as I was concerned about, I told you that the military was divided. I brought it up several times that I don't trust them, primarily the upper brass, but also, as I said, it's these people, these leftist Marxists, since they've been coming out of the educational institutions, have been the leftist Marxist input has been coming down amongst the ranks. It used to be just amongst the general officers and possibly the full colonels, full captains, 06s and above. Well, now it's starting to come down. Tulsi Gabbard is a major in the National Guard, okay? She voted for the impeachment when she said she wasn't going to. She was a wolf in sheep's clothing. All of those who said she was, I supported her foreign policy. I thought she was good on that, but I did have caveats about some of her other positions, and I'm really sorry about this, how bad the video is. As usual, you guys know how that is here. I've got plenty of lighting. It's something internal. As long as the sound's good, I'm just going to keep going with it because that's the most important. Sorry I had to interrupt you again there. So Tulsi Gabbard has shown her true colors. She's not about freedom in America. She's not about the last election. She's about overturning it too. Possibly the whole thing between her and Hillary were a sideshow, okay, to make her look like she might be viable for those of us who want to preserve our republic and our Constitution. And apparently now she's shown that she isn't. So keep that in mind as we go on in the future. We gave her a chance, and she blew it today. She totally blew it today. Not to mention that she's against the Second Amendment, okay? Obviously, she's also for this whole global warming business. and other things like that. So any ideas that we had any support for Tulsi are gone. Okay, they're gone as of right now. At least they are for me. Like I said, I would never have voted for her anyway, but I was hoping that maybe there was somebody on the Democrat side that had some reasonableness to them. And now that's obviously, she's proven that she's a liar and she's a plant and she's a manipulator, and she's using the same thing that the Democrats and the military and the bad military and the IC are doing, and that is misinformation, disinformation, feigns, reconnaissance and force. They were trying to probe us to see what we go with. Well, now we know they're totally the enemy. If they say they're Democrat, they're the enemy. And end of story. They are leftist Marxist regardless. Even the moderates are at this point. Do you understand? Okay. The next problem is, as BP Earthwatch brought up, Jesse, the Trojan horse is what we really have to worry about now. We know where the Democrats stand. And I brought that up some time ago. I said, let's stop arguing. Let's stop trying to argue with and reason with the Democrats and the leftist Marxists. That's a lost cause. We need to concentrate on our own side. And Jesse pointed that out in BP Earthwatch. He said, we can't waste our time with that. The Trojan horse is in the Republican Party. And ladies and gentlemen, it's starting to rear its ugly head. It could very well go that the Senate, because these people are all compromised. That's what Jeffrey Epstein is about, was helping to compromise these people, so that they might appear. And we've talked about the false left-right paradigm for a long time. Well, here we are. We are at the crossroads. I know that's a bad term in Satanism, but regardless, it's true here as well. We have a situation where those who have been hidden inside the Republican Party have been waiting their time. I mean, Mitt Romney's out in the front. We know where he is. How the damn Utahns voted this guy in is beyond me. Beyond me. I mean, well, I know what it is. It's a name recognized in the LDS Church, and it was pushed really hard in the state of Utah. Fools, and I'll call them that. But the thing is he's visible. A lot of the others are not. We see Lindsey Graham going back and forth, and he very likely had a part in the Steele dossier along with McCain. There are so many things going on here. I just wanted to come on and say, we're in a hell of a lot of trouble, everybody. We're in a hell of a lot of trouble. And anybody who tries to tell you that this doesn't mean anything today, I'm really surprised at Dan Bongino, what he was talking about, you know. I really thought he'd consider this to be a lot more dangerous than it is. Instead, he's talking about some other things today. Frankly, I didn't want to listen. I like Dan, don't misunderstand me, but sometimes I wonder how he comes up with what's important. Just like everybody wonders how I come up with what's important. Well, I'll tell you what. We have a situation right now where the military you're seeing the division. Tulsi Gabbard, a major. Vindman, a lieutenant colonel. Most likely CIA embed. Admiral McCraven, General Mattis, General Petraeus, and you can bet that there are a lot more. And as I've pointed out with Tulsi Gabbard and Vindman, this is now lowering down through the ranks because these people were taken out of the same institutions at the same time that the IC and the FBI were taking out leftist Marxists who are now at all rank and file of the FBI and the intelligence community in general, the CIA. All those people are in there, and now we're seeing it. Do you remember? And somebody brought it up last week. The new lieutenant out of UCMA, United States Military Academy, it was about 2 years ago now, maybe 3, where he took off his hat and it shows, that he was for Che Guevara and communism. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not rare. Okay. I had to bring that up today because I consider this to be a portent of extreme danger. The question is, if our representatives on the Republican side and senators, it was along party lines in the vote today in the House, but that could be a Trojan horse as well, so that the Rinos who know that they want to impeach Trump and indict him in the Senate, that nobody will think the Republicans are going to go against him. And so they went ahead and did it along party lines. They knew where it was going to go. And now everybody's going to say, well, he'll be saved in the Republican Senate. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm beginning to wonder if that's going to happen, especially if the military-industrial complex is set against Trump, which it is. And the deep state complex is set against Trump, which it is. And the intelligence community, above and beyond all else, is set against Trump. And again, against us who wanted to restore constitutional Bill of Rights principles back into our government and freedom, perfect law of liberty, get the government off our back, all those types of things. So these people have a vested interest in this going south. Okay, they think they're going to be protected on the other side. Likely, most of them will be, although some of them will be taken out and thrown away, just like they're going to do to a lot of us. This is no longer an ideological argument. This is no longer just a political argument. Trump and the conservative, constitutional supporting Christian people in this country are at war with a subversive enemy that is sneaking past our wire. Do you understand? They're inside our wire. This is very, very bad. You can't even call in artillery when they're inside your wire without killing yourselves, or at least some of your people. This was done on purpose, and it's because nobody took action since Kennedy's assassination. People should have been hauled in back then and executed for what they did. But they got away with it. And they're going to do it again. Trump should have acted 2.5 years ago. Sorry, I'm yelling. It's just that I've been saying it for a long, long time. And I still wonder, I support what he says in principle. I don't like what he does on the ground, especially his inaction. Where are these people getting arrested? Barr saying that Ray is doing a good job? Is it because a criminal investigation opened and Ray realized now he was open? He couldn't just do political things before. Now that it's a criminal investigation, he has to cooperate? I don't buy it. And I don't trust Barr to this day. Look at how he helped Epstein get away. As Lionel, it's looking like now maybe he was murdered. And yet Barr said he was convinced it was a suicide. What? And regardless of how Epstein disappeared, why has nobody gone after Ghislaine Maxwell? As Lionel points out, what's happened there? Oh, well, they're rounding up all these child porn people and all that in these other different places. The low-hanging fruit is a diversion. If you don't take out the head, it grows back. I just hope. I guess it doesn't matter at this point, whether Trump's a coward or whether he's complicit, because the end result is going to be the same. I saw headlines with a voice the other day, and I retweeted it out. By the way, if you folks don't follow some of us on Twitter, please do so, because I'm not posting as much as I used to unless I feel like it's an absolute necessity. Nightcap being kind of a different thing, where I'm going to talk about that a little bit too here, but I'm just not as regular as I used to be because it's just too much. I've been saying the same thing for so long that I'm getting tired of repeating myself. But regardless, we're in a lot of trouble. And Trump, he didn't take action. They came after him, his family, his supporters. And I said, and I think a lot of us have said, if he didn't do something, it would get worse. Headlines with a voice, as I started to say the other day. And it was on Twitter. I was on YouTube, but I retweeted it out. She said, "You must act, President Trump. You must invoke the Insurrection Act. You cannot wait any longer." Are there Marines behind him? I don't know. I've been out of the military thing for a long time, but I saw how this whole thing was being set up in the 90s, actually as early as the late 80s. But in the 90s, and after the turn of the century, I could see what was happening. I saw the type of people that were in the Command and General Staff College in 1990. I saw the type of people that were in the War College. And it didn't look good to me. And here we are. Since then, my concerns turned out to be right. They went for the Patriot Act. They've gone for the suppression of free speech in the NDAAs, surveillance, Operation Mockingbird expanded. It's not called that anymore, but that's basically what it is. In other words, that the CIA controls the media for propaganda purposes. And it's there, ladies and gentlemen. You see it every day on the mainstream media. Even Fox now. Catherine Hethridge left Fox. She's gone to CBS. What? What in the world is going on? Has anybody else seen that? Catherine Hethridge, who used to do the great reports on what's going on with all this coup stuff. She would find stuff that nobody else did. She's left Fox and she's going to CBS. Why? What's going on here? Why? I mean, if I were in her shoes and I was committed to the perfect law of liberty and trying to get this thing straightened out, the last place I'd go to is CBS. I'd turn down the extra money and everything else, unless, of course, Fox is throwing her out. Maybe that's what the real story is. Maybe Fox is getting rid of her, and Trump and Hannity and Lou Dobbs and Maria Bartiromo and Sean Hannity are on their way out too. I don't know, but this is getting bad. This is getting bad. Today I heard that Facebook is now going to stop all political ads. Well, you know that's not going to stop the Democratic ads. Trump failed to act. Whether or not he could get the support he needed in the deep state to do what he said he was going to do is immaterial. He could have brought other people in. And Headlines with a Voice, as well as I have pointed that out, he should have brought people outside of the deep state to work for him. And he refused to do it. And he refuses to do it to this day. This Dillon guy, Utma Dillon or whatever the hell his name is, that he's about ready to put in the DEA is a good example. Sheriff Clark could have gone into the DEA. Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer could be his NSA, his National Security Advisor. And I'm sorry, but get Ivanka and Kushner out of there as advisors to the president. This is just out of control. So, the military is not behind Trump. I'm not convinced of that. Yes, the rank and file, now we're down to majors with Tulsi, right? And who else is in there? Remember the lieutenant again, as I just mentioned, from the USMA. Remember, those people are in there. It might be that all we've got to rely on now are the enlisted people. And that's not good. Despite the fact that they're the ones that really run the services, they really are. They're the ones that know their shit. The officers don't. Some do. Most officers don't. If you don't have a good NCO, the officers can't make it. They might be our only hope. I'm hoping that there's some company grade and some field grades, but now with Lindman and Tulsi doing this, I'm beginning to wonder if there are any there either. Now, I've been out since 2004. So, a lot of those people that were mere lieutenants in 2004 are now at the major and lieutenant colonel level. And where was the IC? Where was the CIA? Where was the FBI in making sure that these type of people didn't get into these organizations, into these defense organizations and intelligence organizations? They weren't checking it because that was the idea, was to change our country, transform our republic into a statist, authoritarian, tyrannical government. And that's exactly where we're going. Yes, I'm pretty fired up this morning, but I do have my coffee. I do have my coffee. I don't know what else to say. I just wanted to come on and bring out how dangerous this is. So I won't repeat myself, okay? You get the idea. You get the idea. I'm afraid that what is going to happen from this point forward is that they don't even have to kill Trump at this point. They don't have to kill him. Because if the senators, if the Rhino senators are compromised by the stuff that they've done through Jeffrey Epstein, and also the Ukrainian corruptions, which Trump, again, didn't move on, and Barr has not moved fast enough. They're not moving fast enough. If they're actually doing anything, somebody should have been brought in bracelets right now, and they haven't been. Oh, they're afraid they're going to say Trump's going after his political enemies. Well, I'll tell you what, if Trump falls for that, if Trump falls for the thing, no, you can't go after him because they'll say that you're going after just their political enemies. They've already proven that they did that. No, he's got proof of criminal behavior if he'll just use it. And he has to use it. Because what's going to happen in the Senate is I'm afraid that everybody's going to be resting on their laurels thinking that it'll be saved in the Senate. And these people are going to go with the deep state and the IC at the last minute. Then what do we do? What, you think you're going to hit the streets? Alex Jones has been saying, hit the streets, go to your senator's offices. I think it's too late for any of that. If Trump isn't going to give us competent authority cover to take care of this situation, ladies and gentlemen, it's like I've said, you better just pray, stay out of the way, and let the wicked destroy the wicked, because that's where it's going to go, and it's going to go there fast. Look at this nastiness that's going on with the LGBTQ pedophile community. And yes, I lump them all together. Look at the drag queens. Look at the guy cutting out the baby. If you saw that video, it was a costume, but it was obviously an effigy. They were worshiping that just like killing the baby at Bohemian Grove. Those are symbols of what is happening in reality. They're worshiping an idol, but they're doing it in reality. And Trump has not acted. I'm sorry he has not. I wish that it had been true that there was a Pentagon, what does that guy call it? The Pentagon Pedophilia Task Force. I wish there was such a thing, but there is not. There is not. There is not. But you could get at the pedophiles and all this stuff by going after them with the laws, other laws that they have broken, and the sedition and the treason. And Trump, we haven't seen anybody. They keep arresting Trump supporters. We haven't even seen that many Antifa arrested. A few. What about the big fight that happened? Was it in New York City between the Proud Boys and the Antifa? The Proud Boys, who were trying to defend their buddies, they're the ones that ended up in jail, and the judge called it a riot. What? For protecting your friends who were being beaten up by Antifa? Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to see what's happening here. And Trump does nothing. Barr, talk. Durham, invisible. And I won't even talk about our buddy Huber down in Salt Lake City. I knew him, and he's not doing anything either. They should have, they talked, and I said this before, they made a big to-do about taking out Baghdadi. I'm not even sure that actually happened, and I've told you why, okay? Just some of the surface things is the reason why I'm not sure that even occurred, okay? But it doesn't matter, because so many of these things are for show. But I'll tell you what, if they're going to make a big deal, if Trump's going to make a big deal about going to Baghdadi, who can be replaced in a heartbeat, and apparently already has been, he better start thinking about using the Delta Force to go after Soros, to go after that support network. Getting a task force in the FBI, as bad as it is, try to get some of the good ones, if not the Marshal Service, and if not, declare the Insurrection Act and use the Marines and go after the traitors and the seditionists in our country. No, he wants to make a big deal about something that happens overseas that probably never affect us in reality. Yes, I'm angry because Trump didn't act. And I think they're going to succeed before Christmas. And we're going to be left with some hard choices. And we're going to have a problem. And I'm going to tell you again, because somebody said, and no disrespect to this person, I'm not going to recall their name here, but they said, oh, it's time to take up arms and go against the government. Are you out of your mind? You have no idea what you're talking about. Your little militia organizations with your AR-15s have no chance if the military decides to turn against the people. I mean, zero chance. And then, of course, if that's what's going to happen, most of our military are deployed overseas. Trump was trying to get them back, and at every turn, he changes his mind. He lets the military intelligence community and his damn neocons in there as his advisors change his mind or alter the situation. He has nobody here to protect him or protect us. Our southern border is wide open. The military should be down there. And then, of course, there's a situation with the United Nations. I've heard rumors. Look, the United States military brings in foreign troops all the time to train them. That's not a big deal. Okay, I was involved in that myself. It's It's just what you do, okay? It's cooperation, even with some that you consider your enemies, like the Russians. We've had them here, the Chinese. We've done that, okay? That's when you see that, it's not an indication that it's pervasive, that they're bringing in foreign troops to occupy us. But I know that concern is there. And if anybody could do it, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Chinese. Which would explain why Pelosi and Feinstein and all these people are doing what they're doing. The Chinese don't have to bring in an army. They've got an army already infiltrated amongst us. And Trump was trying to take care of that by getting them out of the Long Beach port down there. But there's so little follow-up in the Trump organization. It was like Brennan was supposed to lose his top secret clearance, and nobody followed through. Nobody actually did it. Apparently Trump signed it, or said that he wanted to declassify all the information. And then we find out that he never signed an order, and the Barr and the DOJ understood that it was just for Barr to declassify according to his needs. We're rudderless, ladies and gentlemen. There is no rudder on this ship. Despite appearances, there's no rudder. And people are going to say, you're being harsh on Trump again. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to hear reality, you've got plenty of other places to go. And I encourage you to do that. We've been on Trump. We've told him. We've said. He sends me a letter a year ago. I've told you about it, thanking me for doing what I'm doing, and then does nothing that he says he's going to do. And I said from the beginning, all this economic stuff, all these things that he's been doing, if they get him out of office under hook or by crook, it all means nothing, ladies and gentlemen. It means zip. It means zilch. Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And all this can be undone. All the good stuff he supposedly did could be undone in just a few days, if not, it might take a month at the most. He had to take out the dirt in our institutions. 2 tiers down. Dan Bongino did call for that. Lou Dobbs did call for that. I don't think Sean Hannity did, because Sean Hannity thinks 99% of the IC, especially the FBI, is okay. He's been corrupted. Trump had the ability to bring a lot of us in who stood by him, and he refused. He refused, not just didn't know, he refused to do that. And now you and your families are in extreme danger, because these Democrats know that they can't allow this to ever rise again. When I say Democrats, I mean, of course, the leftist Marxists, the Soros people, the Chinese. They know they can never allow us to rise up again. Ever seen Ants? You know, you saw Michelle Anderson with me the other night. She showed me part of the movie from Ants, you know, when they say, the guy says, you know, you let one ant stand up, they're all going to stand up. Well, they've effectively squashed that at this point. Trump was the symbol of what we all believe in. And he failed to be the leader that we needed to do to have the courage to take out the enemy. Because that's a principle. You cannot allow evil to exist in your midst. You can allow disagreement. You can allow even political discourse. But when you allow them to destroy your basic freedoms, they are the enemy. And he failed to take the action that was necessary. And I don't think he can do it now. I'm sorry, I don't think he can. With what's happened with Vindman and Tulsi Gabbard, and who knows how far else down the line it's gone, as I've just explained. So anyway, that's all I wanted to really talk about this morning. Let me just mention, we are going to, despite all of this that I could talk about for hours and days on end, I could stay online literally for hours and days, but that's just not right. Number one, because I've got other things to do. One of which, for instance, is I'm really trying to expand this. Roy, did you visit the School of Americas? I taught for the School of the Americas at a point during my deployment to Central and South America. I actually went to the Argentine, I forget the name of it now, the Argentine military's what would be called our Pentagon in Argentina. I forget the name of it right now. and took part in an exercise to train South American officers, and it was all done through the School of the Americas. I understand what they are. Okay. Now, as I said, I still want to do the nightcaps, and I'm really going to do everything I can to get away from the political stuff in the nightcaps. You might say, well, Roy, why are you going to do that? We need to get this information out more and more all the time. Look, you have to be balanced. Okay, you'll go insane. All right. So we did that one on the thing about men and women the other night, and I realized that it was a little disjointed, but that's because Michelle just has so much information that I mean, I told you before as the show was starting that and I've known her for 2 years. We've had these conversations, and I knew how intricate it was, but it was hard to decide on what a single subject or maybe two would have been to cover in that time, which would have been the best way to handle it. But we're going to do that next time she comes on just with me, and we are planning on doing that. We're going to talk about the ITE thing, the invisible terrestrial entities. This has already been proved by physics, and it's been kept from us by NASA and others. She's got the documentation, okay, and she touched on some of it the other night. Yes, we are fighting against principalities, powers, forces in darkness, evil, and she brought up the translation in the King James Version of high places. And it's interesting that she said that, and some things, even get past me, even with all the study I've done. And I want to point out why that was important when she pointed out that the high places, as it was translated in the King James Version, was changed to heavenly realms in a subsequent version, the NIV, I believe. That was actually a correct change. Let me explain why. The euphemism for high places in Hebrew was basically to identify the places of worship by Baal or of Baal. Okay, and people say, well, his name's Baal. No, it isn't. It's Baal. Okay, it's the idea of swallowing, and I've talked about that before. The scripture that says that the devil roams through to and fro in the earth to see who he can devour. Well, the real word is swallow, and that's the Baal sound in Hebrew. It's the swallow. So Baal is the swallower. The devil is the swallower, not just the devourer. He's a swallower. He consumes you. He takes your energy. Do you understand how that is, how that would work? So at any rate, the high places were the places where these altars to Baal were placed. Now, that's not to say that the Israelites didn't build altars in high places too, but it was specifically used to identify the worship of Baal. Okay? So the fact of the matter is that when it says high places in the New Testament, that is, if you take the euphemism from the Old Testament, it was correct in what they were saying. They were saying in the high places, not just in the mountains, but in the heavens. So we are dealing with something otherworldly, as well as people in the flesh who have accepted these demonic, and that's what they are, these demonic principles, and stood for them and fought for them. So that was incredible that Michelle brought that up, and I was going to talk about it that night, but I didn't want to get back off the subject again, so I thought now would be a good time to mention it. Okay. I'm going to leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in an awful situation. I'm going to have to... Oh, that's another thing. We had some wine, Michelle and I, before the show started, because it's not a newscast, okay? It's not something... And somebody was saying, well, they've seen me drunk before on air. No, you haven't. I've been sick at times, and I'd still do an upload, and I may have looked or sounded drunk, but I was just feeling nasty, and I'm not going to tell you what the problem was, but I've had some health issues, as some of you who are listening know, and sometimes it gets to the better of me. I'm really healthy by and large, but I'll just tell you I got poisoned at a point in time here a few years back, and occasionally I wrestle with that, okay? And I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to get into any other detail. But no, I've never been drunk on air. On a program like this. Now, Nightcap, this same person, they wrote me and they said, You need to take a lesson from Monograph and have a little whiskey or something, during your nightcaps, to lighten up and to enjoy yourself. Well, then we have wine, and then the same person comes back and says, you shouldn't be drinking during these broadcasts because you're not following, you lose your thoughts and all that. And I'm thinking, why do people have to be, so wishy-washy, one way or the other? But the fact is, I am going to take Monograph's example, and we are going to have many, many times some wine, probably not strong drink, but some wine or something light during the nightcaps, because that's what it is. It's a nightcap. So I'm planning, just so you know, in the near future. Yeah, who said it? Lorraine George. It's 4:30 where she is. Got to open the wine after the stream. All right, good for you. Good for you. So the nightcaps are going to be more lighthearted by and large. Just so you know what we have coming up, I'm still working on one person that I really want to get on that will be a real riot. She hasn't confirmed yet, and that's unfortunate. She's probably afraid because of my notorious background, but we'll see. The other is I know this is really out of character for me, but there's a reason why I want to do it. Trey Smith would be aghast. But we're going to have, it's already in the works, we're going to have a nightcap about the paranormal. Yes, we are. We're really going to do that, despite the fact that, the Bible says not to deal with that and all. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen, and I think we need to address it. You can mistake spirits for divine creatures, and that's the reason why you're supposed to stay away from those things. Just because you have an apparition or something appear to you doesn't mean it's anybody. I mean, they can even claim to be God, and they're not. So I understand the concerns, but the fact of the matter is having the concern doesn't mean that these things don't actually happen. I have a young man, well, he's in his 30s, but he was a paranormal investigator. We're going to get him on, okay? He actually did some of this stuff. I have friends who, Michelle Anderson will be on that show because she, as most of you know, she's had some experiences like that. I've made some invitations to some other people. They're not sure at this point, but I can tell you some of the ones that I have had. Specifically, well, there were a few before, back in the 90s and earlier that I had, but specifically after my wife died, there were some things that happened that were inexplicable. And yes, I think it was her. I even have a photograph of her on the other side, which I might show you. It was done with a digital camera in weird lighting, and she showed up. It's hard to see, but it's there. Honest to goodness. And it was on a brand new camera that I hadn't used for anything. And the SD card is something I hadn't used either. It was brand new for that trip. So I might show you that. It's kind of hard to see, but I'll outline it and I'll tell you the story about it. So we're going to go there on a nightcap. I'm anticipating we might be able to do it as early as next week. Okay, it'll be either probably Tuesday or Thursday night again. I kind of like to, be a little regular on that, but just have your heads up on that's coming. And then, like I said, we're going to try to have this other lady on who will be a lot of fun. Okay, all right. As Pam Jones is saying there now, let me read this to you. She's saying, our voices must be heard now. Call, email, visit everyone you can think of. I agree with you, Pam. Thank you for always being here and for all the hard work you do on the Pedophile Exposure Project. You have done some outstanding things there, just like you did on the stratosphere atmospheric injection that you were revealing before. But you've done some great work on this pedophilia exposure project, and I thank you for that. And she's right. We need to be loud, and we need to get in their faces. But ladies and gentlemen, I've got to be honest with you. I think that their minds have already been made up. They're not worried about the ballot box anymore. That's not to say that we can't act as if they are, and we should, as Pam Jones is saying. But I'm afraid the ballot box is done. Very serious, bad situation. Prepare yourselves accordingly. What the heck? Barry White. Okay, Barry, you're out of here. I give you all kinds of chances, and then you come on, and you know what? You do not have a corner on the truth, Barry White. So I've just thrown you off permanently. I'm done with you, okay? We've done this before. You're done, all right? if you're going to have myopic vision that only what you believe in is true, you've got a problem. And that's the reason why I cover these things. My experience is broader than you can possibly imagine. All right? No, I don't support spiritualism. I don't support the occult. But you don't know the difference between when Christ said the mysteries are only for those who are meant to understand them and what the occult is. They're not the same thing. All right? So Barry, you're gone. And anybody else who just makes blatant accusations like that, if I don't throw you off, my mods can. Okay? You don't just attack somebody like that. And during our paranormal thing, you better not attack anybody. These are their experiences, whether you like it or not. This is what they've experienced. Trey Smith might say they're all demons. I can tell you that's not true. That is not true. Many times it is because they want to fool you, but it depends on a lot of things. One of the things that it depends on is what they do and what they say. And I won't get into that here. Yeah, exactly, Gary W. I don't mind with people that disagree with me, but be respectful and don't make accusations. Thank you for saying that, Gary. I appreciate that. That's the concept we need to have here, and I appreciate it a lot. Okay, again, I know the video's bad here. This is my old system, and we're probably having some things. It's really cold here. We had some snow the other night. It's probably seeped down into the lines, and we're probably having some problems. But let me take a look at and see if you've said anything here that we need to touch. Oh, absolutely, Tina Fisher. Don't turn your heart from God. I agree. No matter what it looks like, don't curse God and die. No, don't do that. You wonder why he doesn't take action sometime, but remember, we're the ones that are being tested here, not him. Although there is a scripture that says, test me forthwith to see if I will not do what I say. But like I said the other night, an answer to a prayer of no is perfectly legitimate, and sometimes that's hard for us to accept. Okay. Yeah, Bliss, I think you're right. From right now, notice they did this vote on Halloween, the start of the devil worshippers' holidays. Yes, this is incredible. They're doing all this over the next month to 2 months. This timing isn't by accident. It could be that no weapon formed against him or us will prosper, meaning Trump. But so far, that hasn't proved out, other than the fact that he hasn't been removed from office yet, either by hook or by crook. I pray that he's being protected and that his intents are actually as he proclaims them to be. I do. But I also understand how the military works and how military operations work, and hesitation and losing the initiative are death. So I'm not too happy about it. Headlines with a Voice. Everybody's saying she's here. Thank you, Headlines with a Voice. I hope you don't mind me promoting you as much as I do. I find you, and you know how I feel about that. What you all are going through in California, as goes the rest of the country, and you know it, and you've been talking about it for a long time, and it's tragic there what's happening, and of course you know it's going to get worse. So. Kenneth H., I will have Michelle back on. Oh, she looks really good next to you. We don't have a relationship, okay? I mean, not really. We're friends. We've been friends for a couple of years. She's had some tragedies in her life, some severe ones, and so have I. It's not that, and I don't want to assume anything here. It's not that we couldn't. It's just that it's not the right time, I guess you could say. And maybe never will be, but her research has really impressed me. And by the way, we don't agree. There are a lot of things that she believes, or that she is, let me put it this way, her conclusions on some things are things that I don't go along with. But that's the thing about friends. It's like I was saying with my wife who died in 2008. She was a Democrat. She wasn't a leftist Marxist Democrat, but she was a Democrat. But we could disagree on things, and it was forgotten right afterwards. It never turned to yelling and screaming or refusing to talk to each other or anything like that. Although one time, I got to tell you this story. This is actually the kind of story you should tell on Nightcap. But we were in Venice. I was deployed overseas in 2001, 2002, and I took 10 days of leave, and I met her in Venice. It was a wonderful time. It's so fond of, and I've shown you some of the footage of those videos that I took back then during a program, I don't know what, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, something like that. But I'm used to being able to use latrines free. That's the military term. Or here in the United States, there was a time when you had to pay money for bathrooms, but all those are pretty much disappeared. Well, in Venice, no, you have to pay to use. In Italy, as a matter of fact, many places in Europe, you have to pay to use a toilet, and I wouldn't do it. and she gave me €1 and said, "Here, I'll pay for it." And she gave me €1. She says, "Do it here," because we were over in St. Mark's Square. And I was thinking about using a bathroom in one of the restaurants, but they don't even like that. So I was saying I was going to go back to where we were staying, which was a friend's place. We had a friend that actually lived in Venice, and we were able to use his living quarters. There was a huge mansion. I mean, it was really nice. I think there's some pictures of it, and I showed you. But anyway, it was a once in a. I mean, if we had a hotel room like that, it would have cost us, $1,000, $1,500 a night. I mean, it was spectacular. It was a mansion. But anyway, so I was saying, well, I'm just going to go back to the place there and use it. And she goes, "No, do it here." And I go, "No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pay them to use the restroom." She yelled at me then. She grabbed the euro back from me and she threw it. She goes, "You don't want to spend €1?" And I think it was actually only half €1, so you get your change back. But she grabbed the euro, it's a little coin like this, and she just grabbed it from me and she threw it to the lady who takes the money. I still didn't use the bathroom. So it's not that we didn't have disagreements, but it was usually some stupid thing on my part, which it definitely was that time. So at any rate. All right. So as far as Michelle Anderson goes, yes, she's going to be back on. We're going to talk about ITEs. I think we're going to have a show just on that. Which kind of ties into the paranormal thing, but it's not really. It's more like aliens, actually, confirmed aliens, even though they're not aliens. They live here. They are part of this sphere, this living area, this part of the solar system, part of the sun, part of the earth. So they're not really aliens. They are interdimensional travelers. That's what they are. And that goes along with some other things that were said anciently. So I think that's who we're dealing with, are these spirits that were confined here, whether they were the departed Nephilim or other entities of various types. The people in the physics community who have studied this have verified that they exist. Okay, so we'll get into that, and she'll be here also for the paranormal thing. Okay, so look forward to that. And she's a hoot too. When you get her going, she's a riot. She was a little. That was new that night. We had just so much information. We weren't sure exactly where to go with it. I wanted to get into the Me Too movement and how horrible that is. But it was a new thing for her, and so she was kind of feeling her way. And I wasn't sure exactly how to guide her. Normally with my guests, if I have people or my interviewing, I can do it. But it was just such a vast thing. There were so many things she wanted to cover. We didn't, of course, get to a tenth of it. But at any rate. Okay, I'm not going to address everybody. I understand a lot of things that you're saying, especially wondering why Trump hasn't acted in Barr. We keep hearing he's going to, and then Durham's, practically the invisible man. Huber, basically, he's sucking his thumb and sitting on his thumb, one of the two. So, I don't have any trust in him. Okay, have some faith. You cannot destroy the deep state by destroying the country. uh, you don't want. I don't know who you're talking to. Grago. Yeah, destroying the country won't destroy the deep state. I realize that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. If that's what you think I'm saying, you're mistaken. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, thank you, Headlines of the Voice. I appreciate you. Okay. Robert Duggins. Yeah, thanks for admitting that. I'm proud of our actions. I'm not proud of our actions at that school, and neither am I. Okay? I would tell you a lot more, but of course I'm constrained from doing that. But yeah, I agree. Headlines of a Voice say she can barely swallow right now. So you're sick, Nancy? Oh, you're very upset. Oh, about what happened today. You know, I wish you and I could get together and have a chat. I'll just say that publicly. You're one of the people that I really would like to meet. What you do is invaluable on a lot of levels, and I really like it when you say narrator's note, and you're always right, spot on. I just want you to know I appreciate all that you do. Harris, Melvin, Leroy, you are right, actually. You are right. No one in the system is the remedy. We, the people, are the remedy, period. That's true, but you don't realize how they operate, the other side. I do know. They tried to trick me at Bundy Ranch. They infiltrated. They probably had 50 feds infiltrated amongst the people. That's probably a minimum number. And they're dirty, rotten bastards and bitches, okay? All they're about is stealing your freedom from you so that they can exert their jack-booted thug boots. You can't think that the people you can trust. You've got to be very, very careful. That's why I say we need the cover of competent authority. And I've called President Trump to use Article 2, Section 2 in order to accomplish that. And he won't. He won't even call us to the White House just for a meeting. I mean, and I don't mean just me. I mean the people that can do something. And I'm not going to name them again here. I've named a couple of them before, but I'm not going to do that right now. But he could have the Secret Service go out, or have his chief of staff or somebody call these people up and say, look, I want you to come to the White House, all paid trip, I'll take care of it. And bring them in and say, what do I need to do? What's going on? He doesn't do it. All you can do is try to make it through this intact with your friends that you can trust. Defend yourselves, watch each other's back, but if you think that you're going to change, as somebody just said, the deep state, it ain't going to happen unless it happens from the right place. They are balkanizing us now. We will be totally fractured, worse than we are now. It might have to come to that, but that's not where we want to be. Trust me, and that's the reason why we put Trump in there, to be the leader, to take us down that road. And all he has done is procrastinate, hesitate, make excuses, whine, bitch, moan, and do nothing. If I had a commander like that, I'd jump the chain and go. As a matter of fact, I did that once on exactly that thing. I jumped the chain and went to my senior raider. My commander was my raider. I went to my senior raider and I said, you got to get rid of this person. And this is why. But. You know what they did? I was gone before they got rid of this person, but it did happen. Okay? Actually, it happened twice. I did it twice. Okay. Rupert Fellows, are you doubling the cult? I already answered that. You're asking the question, not accusing me. I just told you. There's a difference between the mysteries and the occult. The occult just means hidden. It has a bad connotation, but Jesus talked about knowing the mysteries. So you either don't know if you're doing it from a scriptural point of view, you don't know your scriptures, Rupert. Okay, you don't understand it. You don't understand what Heckelot was. You don't understand the prophetic method. You don't understand Kabbalah is considered to be black mysticism, black magic. It is not. There are sections of it that have been branched off to do that, but that was not the original intent. It was a study of the language, the Hebrew language, and its hidden meanings, and what you could do to commune with God in meditation. Okay, I'm not going to say any more about it. It's not occult. I do nothing occultic. Gee, are we still running here? I can't believe this. How fortunate is that? Wow. And the picture improved a little bit, so apparently, well, maybe it didn't. Hold on here. Let me just check that real quick. It's still having problems, but all right. Let me just go through down here real quick and see if anybody's brought up something. Headlines with a voice. I'm the real one. I hope so. I hope so. I'm taking you on your word that you are. I don't think somebody would be trying to be you here, and I haven't seen you do anything that does anything other than prove who you are. So I believe you. Okay, let's see. Bruise me not. Very kind of you to say. You say to Headlines with a Voice, get all the sadness out now because we are all going to need clear heads in the coming days. I've cried so much over the last few days just trying to get it all out. I approach it differently. I felt the same way that you have. Actually, I'll admit to you, there are a couple of days I've shed some tears over all this. I understand where you're coming from. I do. And it seems like even Trump doesn't give a damn. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm seeing. If he allows himself to be taken out without acting to protect the republic, that was his plan from the beginning. Because what it means is he set us up to be destroyed. I pray that's not the case. Robert Diggins, I appreciate you asking that. Do an episode on School of Americas in Central America. Right now, I think we'd be barking up the wrong tree. Okay, just right now, to talk about those things, we've got to. I mean, yeah, that's kind of indicative of the problems we have in our country. But if you get me off on that tangent right now, we're not going to talk about what needs to be done here right now. So I'm going to ask your permission to forego that until and if we get ourselves fixed here. Okay? And I hope you understand that that's important. That's why I don't talk about Al-Qaeda or ISIS or that stuff anymore very much. You know, I talked about Baghdadi a little bit only because I think it's interesting as I made the connection. First of all, I have some doubts about that, and I mentioned it on the program the other day, if that really went down at all. But that's not even important because why can they expend all the energy to go after him but not Soros, not the seditionists and treasonous traitors in our own government, et cetera, et cetera? You see, so we got to take care of things here. Okay. Tree climbing. Well, you're right. I've heard that before, that Trump has used this to expose the leftist Marxists in the government, and he has done that. I give him that, okay? And you're saying that he's brought it to a head. Lionel calls him the disruptor, and there are others that call him the disruptor, and all of that's true. But let me ask you a question. If your toilet gets plugged and you don't clean it out, if you don't get a plunger and clean it out, what happens? You can let a lot of things come to a head, but if you don't clean it out, guess what? Right? The time for him to act has passed. I'm not saying he still can't, but it should have happened before this. He's done all the exposure he needs to do. Because you will never convince the leftist Marxists, and if that's what he's trying to do, if he's trying to convince some nebulous amount of Americans that things are out of whack and that's why he's going to take this ultimate action, you're never going to reach the leftist Marxists. You're never going to reach those fringe Democrats. Well, actually, the whole Democrat thing now. I mean, I know Democrats, and they're incorrigible at this point. They hate Trump so much they can't even, which is in essence hating us. So bringing it to a head's fine. But if you don't clean it out, if you don't act on it, if you don't stop it from overflowing, it's going to get you. Doesn't matter if you bring it to a head and expose it. You've got to act on it. Concerned citizen, good point. Get yourselves in order. Harden yourself, as this may be a long, cold winter. Stock up on as many supplies as you can. Weather is weaponized. I agree. I agree. Oh yeah, Dana, I do use some of Alex's supplements. Yeah, I do. They're very good, and I've said that before. I don't like Alex's commercials, as I've said. I can't stand to listen to his show most of the time because it's, 40% commercials and, well, maybe 45%, maybe even 50% commercials in one form or another. And then, I can listen to Dan Bongina for an hour and get 3 hours of news. I listen to Alex Jones for 3 hours and I get 10 minutes of news. It drives me insane. I love that Alex does what he does, but I do have a hard time handling that. So anyway, and of course David Knight's great. David Knight's he's actually the most. I think he's the best reporter around, and certainly at Infowars, his program is top notch quality. Yeah, Devin Tarrington, they are the accuser of the brethren. We are seeing the war in heaven, and I talked about this before. We are seeing the war in heaven played out in the material world right now. And that's because this might be difficult for some people, but the physical and the spiritual have to be united and to be an inseparable connection. And this is all part of that process. I won't go into it any further than that, but that's why this is happening. Shadowburn 3D. I will try to do it. He or she wants me to look at their emergency broadcasts. I'll see if I can do that. No promises, but I'll see if I can. Headlines with a voice. I'm going to need something stronger than wine. Yeah, I mentioned Stranahan's. You should be able to get it in California. Well, maybe not where you are. Stranahan's whiskey. It's made out of Denver. Good stuff. You can drink it straight, and it's very smooth. It's not going to gag you, like Jack Daniels will, or some of those. Or you can add it with, like some Sprite or something. It's really good. So please do that. If I could find some Stranahan's, I've looked for it. It's real. You think in Wyoming or Utah, because we're close to Denver, that they'd have it, but they don't. It's something you have to order in specially, if they'll even do it. Stay away from drugs and alcohol. No, wait a minute. Drugs, yeah, I agree. Alcohol, a lot of people say, well, Jesus didn't drink wine. And it might be that you're not even talking about that. There are some problems with alcohol. I agree. There are some problems. But sometimes you just have to well, you don't have to, but I choose to enjoy a little bit from time to time. It does help to kind of smooth things out. You don't want to overdo it. I have people in my family in the past and even presently who have an alcoholism problem. I understand that. I don't, but I do. I used to like beer, but like Kavanaugh, but I can't stand the bloating anymore. With my system, I just can't. Wine is it has a little too much sugar in it for my taste, so I usually dilute it in soda, flavored soda water or something like that. And then whiskey and stuff like that. Again, I usually mix it with a soda or a juice or something like that. No Coke. As a matter of fact, it's safer to drink beer than it is to drink Coke. Coca-Cola. So, but even Jesus, drank wine. You don't break old bottles. You don't. The idea of putting new wine in old bottles. That's obvious that they're using fermented wine. It had to ferment. They couldn't store it any other way, so they had to have fermented wine. It was the only way that they could store it. And that's really all vinegar is. It's a fermented mix for the cucumbers. So fermentation isn't necessarily bad. It's that you don't want to overdo it. It's like anything else. Too much is bad for you, no matter what it is. Now there are a couple of exceptions, I guess. But all right. Pray for me. Take care. I do. Pray for the rest of us. Trey Smith is a Zionist. Well, Trey Smith will support Israel come hell or high water. He and I have crossed swords on that, not directly, but in some things. I do not believe that the current state of Israel is God's chosen people. I'm not saying they don't have a right to exist, but this came out the other day, and I tweeted it. As a matter of fact, I might as well bring this up. This is kind of off what I didn't want to get to this today, but right now might be a good time. I tweeted it out this morning for those of you who have my Twitter. Let me see if you can see this. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let me see if it'll show up. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Okay. Let me give you a little background. A researcher found some evidence that the temple at Mount Moriah, the whole argument about Jerusalem and Mount Moriah is not accurate. That the real place where God was going to make his dwelling place was actually in the Ephraimite territory, which is now in the West Bank. It's located in the West Bank. Mount Ebal and Shiloh. And there's some other situations there. That has been my contention for a long time, and I mentioned in a tweet. When I wrote, I studied the Dead Sea Scrolls. Dr. Robert Eisman, one of the foremost Dead Sea Scrolls scholars in the world, who broke with the traditionalists and the Bibliothèque Nationale and all those about its origins. I studied under him and wrote my book based on some of that information, not all of it, but quite a bit. And I came to the conclusion, and it's not his conclusion, he would still go with Jerusalem, but I came to the conclusion that the Ark of the Covenant was never supposed to leave Shiloh, that was a political move by David. And so these people have uncovered the fact that Shiloh was the place. And so I anticipate that all this hubbub over Jerusalem and the temple is a sideshow, and that the real, I understand about Jesus setting his feet on the Mount of Olives and all that, but despite what people say, scriptures are still written from the point of view of the people that have political and other agendas. And I know that people don't want to hear that. They think it's the infallible word of God. But there are other indications that Shiloh and the Ephraimite territory in the West Bank is actually where God will set his feet upon the earth and where he dwells when he comes here. Okay? I'm just telling you. And now there's scientific evidence to suggest, this guy who did this research is getting a lot of shots at him because of it. But it's interesting that he's verifying exactly what I've been saying for a long time, at least since 2004. But I was actually studying. That's when I started to get the research on for my book, which was published in 2006, The Crimson Thread. But I had actually done the Hebrew study and come to some of these conclusions during my Hebrew study in the 90s. So it was good to see that, and I believe that's the case. That's going to surprise a lot of people. That if all of this, if the Hebrew Scriptures have truth in them, and I believe they do, I believe that which, because it even says in the New Testament to rightly divide the Word of God. Now that means some different things on different levels, but one is the truth from the error, and there is error there. I'm sorry, but there is, and I pointed some of that out before. And you need to have the Spirit of God and understanding from study to figure those things out. And one of them is that the place of God's dwelling is in fact Shiloh in the old Ephraimite territory, not in Jerusalem. But that's a whole other story. That's going to tick off a lot of people. Oh well. Okay, I've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. I'm going to jump to the bottom here just to see if anybody's been. And I hate to do that and miss everybody, but. What was that? Oh, man. Constance, yes, I will have Michelle back on. I plan on doing some other things, too. I just saw something on that I wanted to answer. Sorry, I'm John Smith. Sorry, I'm taking you away from Alex Jones. I know I don't usually do this, but I just had to bring this stuff up on Tulsi and on Colonel Vindman and what I see happening with the Republicans. I think they're going to turn. I don't think they're going to support Trump. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't like what I'm seeing. And I'm not going to sugarcoat all this. I'm just not going to do it for the sake of views or anything else. I just won't do it. I saw something that I wanted to answer, and now I've lost it. I wish Roy would answer my question. American Life, I can't see everybody's question. I don't even see where you asked it before. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to avoid you. It's just that I can't, I can't get everybody. That's just the way it is. Okay, well, there was a... Yeah, Gabby says she supports impeachment. She voted for it. That's why I came on today. And then Ann Coulter said, no, she didn't because she's a senator. What? Ann, what is wrong with you? God. Tulsi Gabbard is a congresswoman, a representative. She's not a senator. That's why I came on. I couldn't believe it. I anticipated that there would be this turning in the military. Gabby says she was against impeachment, but then she voted for it. See, you can't trust these people. If they're Democrats, you can't. Well, you can't trust anybody. But yeah, okay. Somebody had a really cool question here. Bronco 95, I give the wrench, as you're explaining to Ag Glory, I guess. I give the wrench to certain people that I trust who can be moderators. Headlines with a Voice. Oh, jeepers. Eliza Jean Williams, Roosevelt Media, and I always forget the other one. Sorry. I always forget the other one. Anyway, I have four of them, it looks like. And I've forgotten the other one, and boy, I hope she doesn't get upset at me forgetting. It's just, I'm trying to rush here now. Yeah, Lynn Cool's asking BP Earthwatch if if BP Earthwatch and I have conflicting beliefs. So, so, I think that Jesse and I agree on a lot of things, but of course there's some things we disagree on. Yeah, of course. It's like I've said, there's an old statement. If you have three Jews, that's the joke, so just hold on. Three Jews in a conversation, you'll have five opinions. Okay? So what? The important thing is if you can justify your arguments. If you have the evidence to justify your arguments and you can deliver them in a coherent way, okay? That's what's important. That doesn't mean you'll be right, but if you can back up what you're saying, even if your conclusions aren't entirely right, that's okay, okay? So I would say that Jesse and I are in that category, okay? As most people are. Most people don't agree 100% with anybody. Okay, so there was a question here that I did see that I thought, wow, I've got to answer that one, and I've lost it. I can't find it. Okay, so I'm going to let y'all go. Again, to end this today, we're in a lot of trouble. Go back and watch Alex Jones if you want. I guess you've got about another, well, yeah. Again, that's one reason why I came on today. I could cover a lot of other things that are happening, but I think the bottom line is that they're making the move against all of those who are constitutionalist Christians, who believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the Bill of Rights. I think they're making their move, and they cite, like Nancy Pelosi did, citing the Constitution to justify what they're doing. If Trump doesn't invoke the Insurrection Act, ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe that we're going to survive another year. I don't. Thanks for coming. I'll go ahead and check out. Again, look forward to me announcing a nightcap on the paranormal. I know that's out of most people's, why would Roy do that? But it's just I'm going to say it's for entertainment. There's a lot of seriousness behind it too, but it's just for something a little more lighthearted to talk about. It's not occultic, okay? I mean, you even have dreams. Well, dreams can be interpreted as paranormal in some ways. Look at how the Native Americans talked about dreams. So, okay, so we're going to do that. We'll have Michelle Anderson back on at some time to talk about invisible terrestrial entities that have been backed up by the American Journal of Physics, I think is what it's called. And we'll also have, I hope, a guest on sometime in the near future who has a profession. I'm going to call it that. No, it's not prostitution. A profession. She's worked in it for a long time, and it'll just be a riot. Some of the things she can tell us about from her experiences. I can't guarantee that. She still has not gotten back together with me, but I'm hoping that she will. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. Keep your powder dry. Keep your situational awareness on high. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Eyes on the horizon, ears to the ground. You know how I used to always say that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is out of control. And Trump is letting us too close to the edge of this precipice, either by design or because he doesn't know what to do or because he thinks it's a good plan. Well, I'm concerned about this plan, if there even is one. Okay? All right, we'll see you later. Thanks for coming. Not sure when I'll see you again, but you know I throw up the impromptus if something really big happens. It won't be all this formal stuff that you see here, but we'll go from there, okay? All right, till next time. Thanks a lot. Out here.